Hey guys, welcome back to Project Management without a certification and make six figures. So we're still in part one and we're wrapping up part one. The last portion of part one I want to touch on is proposals and contracts. So as a project manager, you will be responsible for answering proposals from customers, potential customers, or existing customers. And you will be responsible for making sure that you are meeting your contractual deliverables and understand your contract. So there's a couple of things that go into the proposal process before you get to that process. The first one is a RUM. Typically, a client will ask for a rough order of magnitude. So that gives them an idea of what it will cost in a range, right? So you give them a range cost of what it will cost them to do the work that they're asking. So their specific scope of work, they'll give you the details, and then you'll put together a cost estimate for that, non-binding cost estimate. The next one is, after you've done your RUM, you will move into your RFP phase, which is your request for a proposal. And that is more official process where you have to put together a full technical narrative describing how you will execute and deliver based upon their scope requirements. And so they present to you their scope requirements in a statement of work, which can be called a SoW. And so in that document, it describes exactly what their requests are, their needs are, their deliverables are, any type of technical solutions they want delivered, any type of requirements that the customer needs for their business needs. So those will be captured in this statement of work. And so you will address these requirements, and we really call it a scope of work, in the proposal that you put together, which is a technical narrative describing it and then creating a financial estimation alongside that to price out what will the cost be for the work that's being done. So it's a very formal process, and most companies have business development teams that do these they have proposal teams that will do this work. So it's really important for the project manager to be a part of that, because they are responsible for meeting the contractual deliverables for their project. And so definitely look into that. Try to be a part of that if you have a company that you work for and they offer up or request for people to say, hey, we want to be a part of the proposal process. It's very good to understand what that process looks like. The next thing I wanted to touch on, in number one of this project management discussion, is budgeting, your budget for your project. So you want to make sure that you understand your project budget. And I probably should have talked about this first before I talked about the proposal, but the project budget is super important. You have to make sure that you are doing your forecasting for your project. And that is understanding what your budget is when it's related to your resources, your hours, if there's expenses associated with your project. All of the financial needs have to be tracked I would say weekly, or at least every 2 weeks, you need to make sure that you're looking at your budget. And typically what you will do is meet with your company on a monthly basis and see kind of what your burn rate is and kind of how you're burning, whether you're over your budget, under your budget, things of that nature. But as the project manager, you need to make sure that you're tracking that on a weekly basis and that you're making sure that your resources are staying within their hours and making sure they're not working overtime, all of those things that could impact your budget, right? You need to make sure that you are allocating the proper resources to your budget so that you won't overburn on your project and you will make revenue, right? So you have to make a certain amount of revenue when you are working your project, and when you come to the conclusion of your project, it has to be profitable for the company. So yeah, definitely put together a good budget, schedule a budget plan, or I typically do a budget tracker, and I plug in all of my numbers and I put together my hours, I put together all of my estimations, my burn rates, my labor categories, how much each person is burning against the project in hours, and I keep track of, like, if they're going to be on PTO, I keep track of their hours. If they're overburning, I try to make sure they stay within the range. So I track all of that, and then at the end of the month, I sync up with my financial team to make sure that I'm capturing everything that's hitting my budget, and then I'm staying within my budget. And so though that is definitely a key component of project management, and something you definitely need to get a hold of and grasp and really understand how to manage, so you can again deliver successfully with your project, deliver within revenue, and allocate the proper resources to your project so they can support the needs of your customer. So the next area I want to talk about is the looking for a job, right? So we want to look for a project management job. So I won't get into it in this video because it's getting a little bit longer. I try to make them kind of short, so we can get a little bit of snippet here and there as we talk through these phases. But looking for a job, right? This is exciting, right? So now you've decided, I want to be a project manager. I want to get into project management. How do I get started? And so we're going to talk about what it looks like to be starting from the ground up and building your career in a project management role, and kind of what I did as I started my career and moved into project management, fell in love with it, and it has been a blessing to me and a gift in my career as I am successful in this industry. So I've been doing it for over 20 years, and I absolutely love it. So we're going to talk about that in the next video and really get into what it takes and kind of what you need to do to start looking for those first jobs, and learning and growing your experience and skill set into becoming a full-time project manager. So stay tuned for the next video. Bye.